Good evening.
How nice of you and I to be together on BU Network.
This is awesome. So this is going to be our first podcast, an introduction to the BU Network.
So here's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Dr. Energy, what do we want to do so that we can make this memorable, not only for us, but for our audience? So I'm going to do something to anchor this podcast. I was in Salt
That's a good one. I like that.
Right? I was in Salt Lake City last week, and I bought, those little globes with the little snow globe thing. Mm-hmm. So I have that, but I'm going to do this to anchor it. Ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Tingcha. Tibetan chimes.
There you go.
Love it. Excellent.
So my Salt Lake City snow globe and my Tibetan chimes, and now I have anchored us, or anchored me, if you want to anchor yourself. I think that worked for you as well.
Yes.
Okay, that's our memorable moment.
And I liked your alliteration, the Salt Lake City snow globe. That's a great technique people can use when they're doing a presentation as well. Our ears really pick up on that alliteration when we use several words in a row that start with the same letter or the same sound. It really has an impact for the audience.
And when I bought it, I was thinking, I want to be able to hold this in my hand. You know, when you like to just get lost a little bit in your thoughts and you pick something and you focus on it. So I'm standing at my very unusual piece of altar furniture here with all these amazing things.
Right.
Charlie the Owl and a salt lamp and chimes and all kinds of things. Each time we get on the podcast, I'll mention one of the things that I'm using to anchor our podcast. But this is just something I had in mind. Like, I'm going to hold this and there's going to be a purpose for it. And 4 days later, here I am. Making this more memorable moment.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
It's okay. We both had an idea at the same time.
Okay, age before beauty, so I go first.
No, beauty before age. That means you go first.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So I'm thinking, in addition to making a memorable moment for our audience and for ourselves, what are one or two highlights that our audience could expect to get from us?
So one of the things that they could expect to get from us is our authentic selves. You'll always hear from us what we have to say or think on a particular matter when it comes to being you and how you can express who you're being in the world at the moment, and what are the different ways that you can do that. So that's one of the things. How about yourself?
Good. Okay, that's great. I like that. So to play on that and to go a little bit deeper, I'll be my authentic self. I'll tell a little bit about where I am and what I'm doing. So we know that I'm holding the Salt Lake City snow globe. We know that I have Tibetan chimes. I'm standing in a room looking out the window, and I have graduated to a 7.5 dumbbell that I get to use throughout the course of my day. And one dumbbell, because I alternate hands, so I have one hand free for the laptop or the phone. And my authentic self right now is pumping a little bit of iron because, we really need to do that at my age to keep this svelte figure that I'm working towards. And as we do this podcast, I'm working on everything. I'm working on my mind. I'm working on my body. So that is our authentic self.
Excellent.
So maybe you want to share about your authentic self before I give my point.
So the other thing, along with the authenticity, is that, you nicknamed me Dr. Energy, by the way, right? So just so everybody knows that. I didn't name myself that. And so the other thing that you'll get from me is the energy. Whether it's me holding the space for you to step into your own greatness, to your own energy, to your own authenticity, or me supplying some energy so you can be inspired, you'll get either one or both. Now, as far as my environment, I'm sitting here in my office in Ottawa. RaRa is in Toronto, so we actually don't live in the same city, even though we have this business together. And I like to be surrounded by beautiful things. It really speaks to me and helps me stay inspired and in the moment. So right now on my laptop, I'm looking at a beautiful picture of a peregrine falcon.
And we're back. So you were telling us about your falcon?
My peregrine falcon. So we were talking about authenticity and describing our environment a little bit. So for me, the energy of and feeling energy rich and inspired, it's really important to have beautiful things around me. So one of the things is I like to change my wallpaper on my computer and my laptop on a regular basis just to keep things fresh and inspiring. And so right now I happen to have a picture of a peregrine falcon, wings spread, looking like it's about ready to take off. And peregrine falcons have always been really, really inspiring to me. And I also happen to have two little figurines of Gumby and Pokey. Now,
of course you do.
Of course I do, because it's a little bit on the lighter side of things, right? It reminds me, some people may remember a Gumby and Pokey cartoon from childhood. I certainly do.
Absolutely, yep.
And it just reminds me to look at the world through the eyes of a child or through the eyes of a kid and have that sense of wonder and awe about things, not to lose the magic in life.
And Dr. Energy, this is what we have in common. I'm looking through the eyes of a Salt Lake City snow globe. And you're looking at Gumby. No, that's funny.
That's Dr. Energy and RaRa, right?
That's right. That's what it's all about. So our audience, and we will get this from each other and from ourselves. We'll get authenticity. We'll anchor ourselves and our audience. Mm-hmm. We'll give them a real insight and look into where we are, because who knows where we'll be at the next podcast? Who knows what we'll be looking at? What city we'll be in? Like you said, we're in 2 different cities. We can be in 2 different continents, and we will cover what's going on at the moment for us. So I'd like to touch on a subject that would add value to our podcast library. If we were to give a message about something today, mm-hmm. what would the message be about first, and then what would the message be?
I think that the message today would be about kind of 2 things: connection and relationships. It's really the same thing. So that would be, I think, what the message would be about.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. As a matter of fact, it's funny. It's almost like you were in the room with me in my BNI meeting this morning, because I talked about how people see us and what they see when they look at us. So on this podcast, people can't see us, but they get an image, they get a picture of us, mm-hmm. and they're going to develop a relationship with us based on listening to us. And then when they get to speak with us or decide to, or have the opportunity to, if they want to speak with us, then they'll see if we meet the criteria that they put in their head about us. So it's the image, right? So they're going to say, oh yes, I expect them to look like this and look like that. And, I'm going to see you holding Gumby and me holding the Salt Lake City snow globe and a dumbbell in the other hand, and say, wait, I didn't expect you to look like that. So yes, it's about the relationship. So let's give a message. Let's give some value and take it in 2 parts. Please go first. And let's give that message to our audience and to each other. I'd like to hear what you have to say.
Wait a minute. You don't want to have Beauty go first again?
No, let the beast go first.
Let the beast go first. Well, it has been a couple of days since I shaved, so.
And being Sicilian, we know what that means.
Yes, exactly. So a message on connection and relationship. So the one, in this day and age with our smartphones, we were just commenting earlier to each other off microphone that even 5 years ago you couldn't have a phone conversation, be texting with somebody, and surfing the internet for a link that you were looking for all at the same time, just with a phone in your hand. And so the technology has really, really ramped up, and in this day and age, it's even more important to be high touch in addition to high tech. So we need to build those relationships with people. Sometimes you have to get on the phone with people and actually have a conversation. Oh my God, I have to have a conversation with somebody. Not that, I just want to text them or email them. No, you actually have to have a conversation sometimes. And sometimes that conversation needs to even happen face to face or through a FaceTime or video conversation. And it really helps develop those relationships and develop the connections that we have with each other. As as connected as we can be with all the different modes of communication, texting, emailing, phone, we actually end up being more disconnected from each other because it's easy to fire off a text, but you lose the emotional connection with that person. So getting on the phone with them and actually being able to hear their voice and hear the emotion and hear the undercurrents of the conversation and really connecting with that person really helps develop that relationship. And I think that high touch needs to be foremost or really prominent in our connections and relationships today.
You are so right. You're so right about that, because when we, and I'll play on that a little bit, when we are communicating, multitasking, we know we can chat with 5 people at one time on a text. Right. Have you ever sent the wrong text to the wrong person? You know,
no, never done that.
Oh boy, does that so however funny that, or funny it may not be. So I agree with you that we definitely need to reach out. And the important thing about building that relationship is 2 things I'd like to add. One is listening, and the other is building our brand. So when people are talking to us, we are our brand, most of us. And we want to build that brand. So whether you're the girl in the yoga pants, or whether you're the girl in the Chanel dress, or the guy in the suit. Yes, yeah.
That's not me.
Sporting the 6-pack, or whatever the brand is, then that's what people are going to relate to. That's who they're going to relate to. And when we're speaking to people, like you say, when we're looking at them or FaceTiming, whatever we're going to do, to Zoom calling them, we're going to look at them. So I was at a conference in Salt Lake City, and I listened to 8, 9, 10, 11 presenters. And one of them said, what are the color of the eyes of the person that you're speaking to? Now, I know your eyes are blue. Now, if I'm speaking to someone and I don't know the color of their eyes, then I'm probably not paying attention to them. So in building that relationship, remember something about them and listen to them. So one of the things that I've been doing for years is I remember something physical and something emotional. So I'll remember you have blue eyes, and I'll remember that you like Gumby or the Falcon. I'll remember those 2 things, and I'll make a mental note of it, because very much like Jimmy Dick, I can go through those things in my head. You and I talked about this the other day. We can go through these files in our head. We have these great memories for that. And then we can recall it. So in building the relationships, giving the value to the people that are listening to us today, our audience, our friends, new people that we haven't met, our brand new friends, our new business partners, we want to build those relationships. So the reason why we're doing podcasts, I'd like to just touch a little bit about why are we doing a podcast? What is the point of us doing that if we said we want to call people? So I know we like the verbal communication. We like to hear that back and forth. We like to know that we have some, I would say, confirmation.
Sure.
And when we have our guest on, it'll give us a chance to listen and have this dialogue.
Right.
And we
go
ahead.
Sorry,
I was just going to say we would like our guest to want that as well.
Right. Yeah, and that listening is so important. It's, I've been in Toastmasters for several years now, and that's one of the things that it gets overlooked. We think about communication. It's all about speaking. Toastmasters, public speaking. Well, remember, everybody hears this, but I'm going to repeat it. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, which is always an indication that we should be listening twice as much as we're speaking.
And that's the next course. It's going to be a 20-minute course on how not to speak and how to listen. So imagine this. You're going to log into our website, and we're going to give you really great tips on how to listen. Exactly. And we're not going to say anything for 20 minutes, and you're going to listen until you hear us say something.
Silence. Listening to the sounds of silence. Actually, that's a really good exercise. Listening to silence, you can actually recalibrate your ability to listen by spending some time in silence and just noticing the different layers of sound. If you're sitting by an open window, do you notice the cars going by? If it's a little wet out, can you hear the different sound that the tires make as it goes from dry pavement to wet pavement? Can you hear the crickets chirping out in the window? Can you hear a crow cawing? Squirrels scrambling up the bark of a tree? I have all of that right outside my window, so I can hear those things. And being able to listen like that, then we can start to listen to conversations and to what people are saying and even more importantly, to what they're not saying, so we can hear all of their communication.
Let's make that a bonus round. I love that. Let's make that a bonus round. Sure. Let's put that available on our site. We'll let people know where they can find it. So if you're listening, make sure that we get to you and let you know where to find this awesome segment on how to listen. And you don't know when in that 20 minutes we're going to make a sound or indicate something, but we're going to make you listen. And that might be the hardest part.
And we won't blow the eardrums out.
No, of course not. Of course not. And if you have anything and you're listening to this podcast, if you have anything that you want to hear from us during that 20-minute segment, a sound or something special, let us know. And we will give you credit for it. So be part of it, because we're going to put that together. It won't be 20 minutes of silence, but it will be 20 minutes of listening. And then I would certainly like to hear the feedback. So when we're done tonight, because it's nighttime where we are right now, in case whenever somebody's listening, we're on Eastern time. We're at Eastern time right now, just so you know what we like to do after 9 o'clock. We'll work on that, and we will let you know when it's available and when you can go grab that from our site. So Dr. Energy, this is amazing. So we've anchored our first, we've given an image, we've built our relationship, we've let our audience know authentically that I have a Salt Lake City snow globe and a dumbbell in one hand and that in the other, and then a phone, and I alternate. We know what you're looking at. We know what we both feel about the authenticity. Moving forward, what will our audience get from us?
Well, I think moving forward, we're gonna have guests on. Not every single episode, I don't think, but I'd say the majority of our episodes will have a guest on, and we want to connect with them and find out from them. It'll be from marketing. It'll be people from self-improvement. It'll be people from more business-oriented, but it's all going to have a theme threading through it. Oh, there's some alliteration. Again, it's a good thing I'm not, I don't have a numb tongue, right? Theme threading through it of being you. That's what BU stands for, being you. How does what you do or what you share demonstrate the essence of who you're being in this world, and how do you want to share even more of that so that you can share all your gifts with the world?
I want to be our next guest. I'm going to have you interview me. I can't wait. I can't wait for that to happen. Well, I want to say this. This is great. I'm really excited. I really have a lot of fun doing this. I just feel like it's very natural for us as
it's a conversation, right?
It's just another conversation between two business partners, two friends, two Sicilians. You'll hear more about what we're doing and where we're from and what we're from, what planet we're from. We'll make sure we slip out that information every podcast. So keep listening, because we'll be throwing those cues out. And what's really important to us is that you be you, because we are us, and you will always get us exactly like we are right now.
Don't try to be anybody but yourself.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you. This is amazing. I'll let you say ciao to everybody, and we'll catch you on the next podcast.
Ciao, bellows.
Ciao.